We are the city of Santa Ana. We represent the city of Santa Ana. To be specific, the Human Department, or the Department of Human Resources, sorry. We are with the Prod Communications team, and over the spring semester, we worked with the city under this specific department. We organized our presentation in 6 main parts. The first one is to introduce our client and who they are, and ourselves and my team. Key audiences is what we will discuss. Strategic planning is what we did for them. Our resources and calendars, how we actually utilize tools to do that. Our outcomes at the end, and measurements and recommendations for the future. So our team, I'll begin. My name is Guadalupe Alcazar. I was the campaign book manager, and I assisted with it overall, working with the campaign and presentations.
My name is Trent Nicely. I was the client service coordinator. I was the main point of contact between our team and the client.
I'm Robin Heron. I'm strategy and research planner.
I'm Manny Gutierrez. I was the media content manager for the team.
My name is Rafael Martinez. I was the campaign schedule manager.
And the team of Santa Ana consists of Jason Motzik, and he is the executive director for City of Santa Ana. Carla Alba, the training manager, which we didn't see much of it, but she had a presence at the beginning. And Lori Snyder, which was the operations manager and the point of contact overall throughout the semester. Our client consultation first happened on February 10th. It was held over Zoom for about briefly 30 minutes, and we established a plan which falls under our project planning. Our mission was to generate a strategic campaign for the City of Santa Ana, the Department of Human Resources. Our objectives were to adhere to the standards enforced by this client, and our vision was to provide quality recommendations that can impact and create a larger impact in the long run. Our key initiatives utilize all the team's strengths and in completion of this project.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cover section 2 for you. We're going to go over key audiences, psychographics, and demographics. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is the SWOT analysis. I'm sure you're familiar with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I'll go ahead and go over each section with you. Strengths, right thing off the bat, we noticed they had a clear direction of goals, which made our job a little bit easier. They did have strong teamwork within the department. They did already have pre-existing social platforms. They did have a large budget, which in turn creates a large pool of employees. And then as far as weaknesses, their current internet is not efficient. It's also not user-friendly. Their LinkedIn is not current nor active. And then lastly, they do have a lengthy approval process. As far as opportunities, that was to add structure to the internet, create the generation of a newsletter, and then improve their internal communications amongst the employees. Lastly, we did establish 2 threats. First one being that Jason Motzik and the City Council did require prior approval. And then lastly, we had restricted access to internal resources. Next slide, thank you. And then psychographics and demographics. Psychographics is what we think, demographics is who we are. So psychographics, this was helped relate through the survey that was administered to the employees. It pretty much targeted just the internet and the internal communications, not as much as LinkedIn. As far as the internet, they did state that it's too corporate, not enough human, and then as far as internal communications, it was just a little too cluttered, and they just felt disconnected from the HR department. And then lastly, the demographics, the average survey taker was ages 35 to 44, second category was 44 to 55, and then the average survey taker was also employed with the city a total of 10 years or more.
I will be handling our section 3. This is the strategic plan. These are the goals that we came up with after our client's consultation and the information given to us. So we had 3 main points of focus that later became our 3 campaign goals. They were the communications, specifically the internal communications, how our client was able to send stuff out to their employees and get their message across. We also have the intranet, the HR department's specific portal website, and then we also had a focus on their social media with an emphasis on their LinkedIn page. So our goal number 1 was to increase the clarity and efficiency of their communications with their employees. One of the main things we were able to work on there was with the survey results that we got and with different researches that we found online, we were able to come up with better ways for them to reach out to their employees and especially better ways to tailor it to what the employees wanted from their responses on the survey. In order to do that, we came up with the plan to make it a weekly newsletter that we could send out to all the employees to get across whatever message they wanted for the week. And then for our goal number 2, we wanted to revamp the HR website, specifically their department's website. Again, with the survey we got, we kind of tailored a lot of the content that the employees wanted to see changed, and we worked with Lori specifically over the semester to continuously make and improve different mock intranet websites until we finally came up with something that the client enjoyed. For our goal number 3, this was the frequency. We wanted to increase the frequency and online presence, especially on their LinkedIn website. We sent out the survey questions. We asked who was on LinkedIn, how often they would use it. We kind of used that as well as some of the analytics from LinkedIn and the information that they provide to figure out what the best days, best dates, and times were to send out our content and what type of content would be best to reach more people in this field. And then for section 4, I will pass off to Rafael.
So now that we've established a clear direction for our campaign and our campaign goals, my job is to create a rough roadmap or outline of what our campaign would look like. We used a few resources that our previous classmates have gone over as well, and we also used the Gantt chart, which we'll go ahead and explain. Thank you, Manuel. So our project outline was divided up into 4 main phases. The first one was the client consultation. We just wanted to make sure we were on the same page with the client. We wanted to make sure that we were going to meet their goals. And also, I'm sure most of you have also had this as well, we wanted to make sure the goals were realistic. We only had a small amount of time to work with them, so we really wanted to focus on things that we could do and do well. In March and in April, March was dedicated to the research. We wanted to make sure all of our recommendations were research-driven and research-based, not just based on our expertise, but what the experts are saying as well. Uncover recommendations for April. This is, and you'll see a little bit more in the presentation, this is where we delivered our mock intranet sites, our mock newsletters. We essentially created all of this for them, provided a template for them as well. And in May, we just focused on wrapping up our campaign as well. So I wanted to give a shout out to one of my classmates who actually told me about an app called Team Gantt. Highly recommend for those of you who are looking to pursue a similar field after graduation. This timeline was also created with the help of Lori, who our team couldn't be here today, but they will see the recording of this. Lori has similar experiences working in PR and marketing. So this was a timeline that we both worked on together as a client and us, the team. We really just felt that having clear, concise goals with just reasonable deadlines was going to push our campaign forward. So this was our Gantt chart. Go ahead, Manuel. Thank you. Some of the resources that we had already mentioned, as mentioned before, Google Drive is probably the most important that we use. It allowed us to work on documents in real time, whether we were here in person or worked remotely. It allowed us to edit, it just allowed us to collaborate. Qualtrics, for those of you who aren't familiar with Qualtrics, is a survey maker that the University of Fullerton provides. Emmanuel will go a little bit more into detail over that. Zoom and email, pretty self-explanatory. We met a lot over Zoom and we emailed our client as well. We have some experience with graphic design, so we wanted to throw in Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. Those were the main tools that we used to create our mocks and our rough drafts. Finally, at the very bottom, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Discord. We had mentioned that Zoom has become popular and prominent over the pandemic. Discord is very similar. For those of you who aren't familiar with Discord, it's a mobile app that allows us to group chat. It also allows us to upload files and allows us to share our screens with each other remotely. Highly recommend you use Discord as well. I know it's helped me out a lot, and it definitely helped this campaign out a lot as well. I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Emmanuel, who will talk about the survey that we mentioned using Qualtrics.
So, like I mentioned before, we did send out a survey to the employees of the city of Santa Ana. This survey was actually very instrumental in helping us create our final drafts for the city. So a lot of the things we were focusing on was definitely wanting to see what they wanted and what they needed, what they liked, what they didn't like with their internet site and with their internal communications. Again, we did use Qualtrics for that, which was very helpful for us to be able to look at the analytics afterwards. So one of the first questions we had was just see how often they use the human resources internet site. And as you can see, it was once a month to rarely, which is honestly not too good. the internet site should be something that the employee should be using more often, even if it's not daily, but at least once a week is something it should be helpful to them. Some of the responses we got back is that they felt like they couldn't really use it because so much was just so condensed into it. They didn't have a search bar. They weren't able to find the links that they needed, so they kind of just went off of it because they had no idea where to go or what to do once they were on there. Again, moving forward, we also asked questions about the internal communications. We wanted to see how they felt on that. Currently, they felt like it was slightly effective to moderately effective. The actual communication that they were receiving from the Human Resources Department, they felt like they were getting it way too often and they were receiving too much information that to the point where they didn't even want to see another email from the HR department. So they did say that they would prefer to be communicated by email and only as needed. So again, one of the responses we got is that, as mentioned before, they really just want to feel that connect with the Human Resources Department, and they felt like they weren't getting it with the way the communications were at the moment.
Some of our competitors, now working for a government agency gives us a unique experience where we're not necessarily selling a product or promoting programs. We're essentially just trying to make the communication strategy more efficient. Our work was focused more internally on their internal network, their employees, their staff, their volunteers, their interns, and so on. So our competitors, we wanted to take a look at the City of Irvine. The City of Irvine has a very active LinkedIn page. LinkedIn was one of the goals that the City of Santa Ana would like us to take a look at. So we looked at what they were doing. We wanted to see what worked. We wanted to see what didn't work. The City of Anaheim, Jason Motzik, the Executive Director of the Santa Ana Human Resource Department, previously worked for Anaheim. And I know that in this class, the previous team had worked for the City of Anaheim as well. So we wanted to see what work they had done. We wanted to base some of our work off of the existing work before. And the City of Costa Mesa, our classmate Emmanuel actually works for the City of Costa Mesa, so he had firsthand direct access to their newsletters, their email blasts, all of that. So all of that, we drew inspiration from those competitors. We talked a little bit about the outcomes. At the end of the day, this is still a learning experience for us, so these are some of the big points that we wanted to highlight that we learned during this campaign. Like I mentioned before, we are working with an established brand. We are working with a very bureaucratic team. So we needed to learn just how to respect hierarchies, the chain of command. All of our work was based internally. It gave us a really good opportunity. We felt like we were making the team more efficient, and we felt like if you create more efficiency, employees would be happier and you'd have a more better chance of retaining the employees. We want the feedback and the recommendations we all provided were based off of not just our expertise and the things we learned here at Cal State Fullerton, they were also based off of direct employee input. The proof of concepts and the templates and guidelines, now none of us can code a website. That takes a lot of time. That's a big project within itself. So we wanted to provide just rough drafts, designs, or proof of concepts of what we envisioned the internet site and the newsletter would look like. We'll see that a little bit in the next few slides, but that was one of the biggest things that we worked on the most. And lastly, research-based outline for future LinkedIn posts. We looked up essentially what's the best time to post on social media, when's the best time, what to post, how to post it. Might seem silly because we're all pretty regular users of social media, I would assume, but there's a lot of study and detail that goes into it, and we wanted to make sure the City of Santa Ana was very well informed.
And that brings us to measurements and recommendations that we want to give them for the future. We start off with the demo newsletter, which Emmanuel actually created that, and he will talk a little bit about it.
So again, going back to the survey, one of the main things that we did receive from the employee feedback was that they kind of wanted to, again, condense down what the information they were receiving. They wanted to make sure they were able to fully understand what they were receiving, and just as needed. So we came up with a way to do this was to, send it out once a week, a newsletter that could be sometime between Tuesday and Thursday, so the employees could actually take a look at it. One of the main things that they wanted to see again was just to have that better connection within the Human Resources Department. So again, making this newsletter more human, providing employee highlights, highlighting benefits. And a lot of the employees didn't know what kind of benefits they had, so highlighting those things, that would definitely help. We also recommended to keep the newsletter short and sweet, not condense it so much, just typical information that they felt that the employees might want or need Again, just using a template for ease of production. You know, we don't want them to start a whole newsletter from scratch weekly. You know, just kind of input whatever they need for that week. And then just include training resources. Links to the intranet page would help, just so, again, they know where to find things, they know what to look for, they know what benefits they have. And then, again, just listing their internal job openings there, instead of doing it, you know, on a daily basis, just doing it weekly. That way the employees could look at and be like, you know what, this is actually, I'm very interested in this, you know, I want to go for this position. The newsletter would help with that tremendously.
And that brings us to our demo intranet side. The final meeting that took with Lori, she was really pleased to see our work and what potentially Santa Ana intranet site could change into. We couldn't post the original intranet site that is for employees only, unfortunately, due to you know, the city and the laws they have. But this is what could potentially be the future of City of Santa Ana. And this is actually not their HR picture, but she really liked the idea of potentially putting up a picture of themselves. And we will follow into the recommendations that we did for their site specifically, which I like to highlight is including a contact list of who their leaders are. I feel it's important, being a 14,000 employee, I guess, organization, you lose track of like who is on top or who is, you know, who I can contact. At times also, I didn't notice in help desk IT location, you know, people get frustrated easily, so they want everything easy access. The employees made that aware in the survey, that the feedback, there's no person I can contact if I have any troubles in it. Also, the widgets that you saw previously are important. Cal State Fullerton actually has widgets that are really easy and access. I know we have all used that internet site, so they want to follow into those steps, and they will share with their social media graphics design per Lori. Also, I like to highlight that the retiree information, she really liked that we mentioned that, because it's important to see after people leave the company, what are they doing? What are they up to? Can they contribute in any way? And to conclude that, we want the city to begin making these changes and measures and see how their employees actually respond to the new potential intranet site. The product communications team in the summer can actually hold another survey and see how the changes have affected their internal communications. And our team gave recommendations on LinkedIn, but the posts should be made in the summer for the future interns.
And on behalf of our team, we wanted to say to Jason, Carla, and Laura, if you're watching a recorded version of this, thank you so much for making yourself available. Thank you for your firsthand experience. Thank you for your feedback. It all helped us. Thank you so much for that. To Dr. Swanson, thank you so much for being a resource that we can use. You made yourself available. Like you said it yourself, Dr. Swanson, I've done this before. I may have done this before or not, so we appreciate your expertise. And to the rest of our classmates, it's been a long journey, but it's been a very rewarding one.
And we're
We
here.
wish all of you the best of luck.
Thank you so
guys
much.
so much.
Thank you, guys.